I know you are. I know. That's the problem, that you're working the room. So we're gonna go ahead and get started, and we'll start with the roll call. We'll just go around the room, starting with my left.
Mark Christiani, Police Chief for Fountain.
Jamie McConvon, Fire Department, Colorado Springs. Denise Howe, City of Manitou Springs.
Yeah, Mark Chacon, Colorado Springs Police Department voting member.
David Langover, Colorado Springs City Council voting member.
Deb Harris, Commander for Sheriff's Office, proxy for Sheriff and voting member.
Stone Bronsky, just community person, ED physician or non-voting member.
Michelle Wolf, County Public Health, non-voting member.
Chris Deisler, City of Woodland Park Police Chief, voting member, and if I believe correct, proxy vote for Cripple Creek.
Yes, that's correct. Good job.
Got it right.
Jake Marcus, Teller County Sheriff's Office, proxy for undersheriff and voting member.
Sunny Bryan, serving as proxy for Commissioner Lauren Nelson.
Harry Geithner, Placer County Commissioner.
I feel a little bit fine. People don't know what to do. It's raining out.
I know. Same vote.
Kitty Hodges, legal advisor to the council.
Amanda Grant, fiscal agent and facilitator for the council.
Eric Stone, Teller County Commissioner, voting member and vice chair.
Annette Criverson, City Council, Colorado Springs, voting member and chair. Moving on to the consent calendar, I just need approval for the March 25th, 2026.
Motion to approve the next.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move on to the staff reports, starting with Amanda. Yes, ma'am. Before I get started, if I could just remind all of the folks in the back, if you intend to speak at the end of the meeting during public comment, assuming time remains, if you could please sign in on the sign-in sheet at the podium. That way I can provide that to the chair when it comes time for that. Financial report, nothing has changed between now and last meeting other than just the interest allocation that is added monthly to what remains in the bank account. And as far as administrative updates, again, not a whole lot there. There are some things being done in the background to streamline the website, get things moving along there, and to provide an additional drive of information to you all in an organized way. We're doing a lot of work with file navigation and merging everything and making it make sense before I provide it to you all. That way it's digestible in a way that makes sense to everyone. I still haven't heard back from the state on the report that I submitted to pull down the rest of the funding that's available in the cost database. They did reply to our annual report and requested a couple of minor changes, just some updated definitions. And so we've sent that back, but haven't heard anything else on the request for additional funding. Perfect. We'll move on to the strategic planning. So last meeting, we talked a little bit about formation of a data subcommittee as part of one of our strategic goals. That subcommittee would be charged with reviewing grantee performance, ensuring alignment with all of the outcomes in the strategic plan that you all approve, supporting an annual report, kind of establishing those consistent frameworks, improving data sharing and coordination across the region, and working out some of the nuances in the KPIs that we have for all of our grants, as well as reviewing those for potential changes if we think what we're measuring isn't really getting us to those outcomes that we're looking for. And so we talked about it briefly, but we didn't formalize anything. What I would suggest for a data subcommittee would be to allow staff to work internally and also with our public health partners and any additional community partners that we find would be a value add to help us kind of inform those metrics, and then have a council member work as a staff liaison that we could provide that information to, and then bring it to full council for final approval when we determine, metrics or any of those reports. And so I could just open that up to you all for discussion or direction.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, I like the recommendation a lot because it keeps the ball moving forward. And as we all are aware, this board is full of people that have really, really busy schedules. So hard for us to, to commit. That being said, I'd certainly be willing to serve as that liaison if nobody else is if anybody else it just digs data and wants to do that, then by all means, but I'll throw my name in the hat from the standpoint of, so we don't have numb, dull silence for a while, waiting for anybody to throw their name in, but I think it's a good suggestion.
Thank you. And you do make a great point about the busyness of you all's schedules. I anticipate that this group will probably need to meet frequently for a while to establish these KPIs and in the kind of an ad hoc manner of really digging into the data and working through it. And so it is kind of a large time commitment, which was why I proposed the staff take the lead.
I also think that's a great idea since you are taking on the facilitator role and doing all of it. It makes sense that you would be very much a part of that in implementing it. And I mean, I'm particularly fine with you digging in on the data part unless, you know, somebody else really wants to do it.
It'll be a lot of
It's
fun.
crazy.
Like how I would be an alternate. Let you do it.
Only alternate? Okay. That's good.
I mean, I assume you only need one, so.
For schedules and time, and I think it's easier to have one at this time, but yeah, if there's times when he can't, but you already have
Yeah.
scheduled meetings.
Actually, that might be good. I mean, we're both respective chairs of our boards this year, so obviously we're busy, but that being said, I think the communication to, you know, facilitated through Amanda, we can make sure it's covered. How about that?
Sounds great.
We can co-liaise.
I like it.
Okay.
Attorney, do we
Give
need,
a high five across the room.
nope, we don't need an action on that if
No,
everybody's
I
in
don't
support.
believe that there needs to be board action because this is a staff-led task
Okay,
force with a
so-
liaison.
Perfect. I'm just making sure I don't get in trouble again.
I always like when Kenny signs off.
I know,
Right.
he's always like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, okay.
More credit than I deserve.
Moving on to item B, the long-term funding strategy modeling.
Okay. So last meeting, we talked a little bit about needing to have a full council discussion, kind of strategize what is the intent of this council. We know that the longest settlement has a total of 18 years to settle out, and I think that was at the beginning, so I think we're moving towards there. I think Taylor has 2030. But it's really up to the discretion of this council. Do we anticipate and want funding to last that long? Do we want to get more funding out early and then trickle down later on? And so Taylor put together, Taylor's our senior budget analyst at El Paso County, and he put together a couple of different spending models and strategies. I sent that out ahead of time. It's also in your packet, but I brought him here so that he could make the numbers make a little bit more sense.
Sure. So in your packet, there's a full breakdown of each sort of proposed model. There's 3 models where we made quite a few assumptions to make, this doesn't work, correct?
I don't think it's
Okay,
connected, but if you could yell.
We made quite a few assumptions to make this work. We have kept the local municipality funding for 5 years at the current level. We've also included UC Health at their continued funding level as was sort of discussed previously, just to make these funding strategies work. So the first one is a sort of front-loaded spending model where we ramp up from 2026 with about 7.1 million, 7.7 million in 2027, and 8.2 million in 2028 in discretionary spending. And when I say discretionary spending, what I mean is outside of facilitation costs, outside of just fiscal agent costs. This is grant funding or contract funding, discretionary spending as we go. This also includes that facilitation. All of these models include the facilitation and fiscal agent costs already built in throughout the entirety of each projection model throughout all the years. So that front loaded, like I said, 7.1, 7.7, and 8.2 before we gradually reduce spending through 2040. So expenditures in that model sort of drop off rapidly between 2031 and 2040. They started about 5 million in 2031 and drop all the way down to 2 million in discretionary spending by 2040. A couple of other assumptions in all of these models before I get too far into any math and any questions. This assumes we're able to fully draw down our funds as they become available from the state. It also assumes around a 3% interest throughout the entirety of all of these funds, that we're able to draw 3% interest on the funds that are sitting in our opioid pool to be able to use. It also assumes that the settlement schedule that we've been given, those are distributed in the manner and the timeline that we know as of now, based on what we see in our portal. And then, like I said, local municipality funding continues for, we have it in these models as 5 years and they're used to help. So those are sort of the main assumptions that we have to have when we look at all three of these models. And so with that first model, you see total discretionary spending throughout 2023 to 2040. So I've included money we've already spent just to keep the totals relatively apples to apples. It's about 75 million. And the reason there's such a large difference in these consistent, extended, and front-loaded is that interest allocation that we're drawing. So we move on to the next model, the consistent spending model. We see 2026 remains slightly lower than what we spent in 2025 at about 5.7. And then from 2026 to 2028 is 6.2 million. That drop allows the pool of money we can draw interest on to remain higher. And so we continue to draw more interest, and that allows us to pull that funding out to 2039 while also keeping a higher level of discretionary spending in the later years. So we're not to a point in the later years where we have less to spend. It's a more consistent level. And again, those models are in your packet, but that consistent spending model keeps us above a $4 million discretionary spending all the way through 2038 and around $3.5 million in 2039. So we sort of maintain a consistent level of discretionary spending available given all of our assumptions and caveats. Any questions before I run through the last one? Given a lot of words there, but okay. So the extending spending model, this one pulls our funding through 2041. It also keeps discretionary spending above 4 million throughout. So all the way to 2041, we stay above 4 million. What that requires, however, is in 2026, around 4.7 million per year from 2026 to 2028, which is a decrease in discretionary spending from what we saw in 2025. So I tell all of this, we're basically providing three models, and our hope is that we can come out of this with some sort of, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict 15 years in the future of interest rates and what may or may not happen, but I believe the council's intent, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have a general idea of what timeline we're looking to spend this money, and that will help us on our side, the facilitation side, to be able to facilitate, for lack of a better word, that funding and maintain that funding through the length of the council, however long the council wants this money to exist. So are there any questions on any of this? I'm sure I missed a thing or two.
I have a question. In your modeling for the sheriff and the FD and health, I don't see that you're doing any increase over the 40 years, so there's no inflation in their
Yes,
contribution, correct?
yes, there is no change across those specific grantees in this modeling. For sake of simplicity, we did not take it upon ourselves to allocate any funds. So we kept that for modeling sake at the same levels that the council has already approved for those current contracts and grants.
Yep, and just for clarification, the internal, like CSFD, El Paso County Sheriff Office, in these models, we assumed a 5-year funding, so that they're only funded through 5 years in this modeling, just based on the fact that those are the ones that the council has consistently funded over the past couple of years. And then UC Health is in there funded for 3 years, because when they came, it was an initial 3-year proposal, and you all kind of said as long as metrics come in as they need to be, they wouldn't have to reapply. We could just redo that. So this assumes after year 5 that we're not funding any of those. And that would be back into discretionary.
Thank you.
So I think as Taylor said, a lot of assumptions go into forecasting financials this far out.
Yeah.
You know, if the AG's office changes the timeline in which we can pull down funding, that greatly affects this model. Right now, we can do it 2 or 3 times a year. If they change it to 1 time a year in June rather than at the beginning of the year, we lose 6 months of interest. If they try to do some rulemaking and say we can't pull down all of our funds and we have to leave some in the state bank, that obviously changes everything significantly. So I think we wanted to give you guys a good look kind of what this would look like, and then hopefully get some relative direction that, oh, we'd like to do consistent funding levels through 2040. Well, then we can work on the back end in our finance office to determine what does that look like annually that you all can spend. We're not going to get to a specific number today of I want to spend 7.5 for 20 years because things change too much. So we more just want to make sure you all are in the driver's seat and have that conversation of, we hope to front load some programs, get them moving, and then trickle down later. Or we want to be consistent across how much we're infusing into the community for I guess it's 14 years between now and 2040.
Just a couple other things before. All of these models do build in the ability for at any point, other than the last 2 or 3 years, to rapidly infuse. We built in basically a $2 million bank at any time. We never come to a point where the council could not rapidly induce funds. That does, however, affect future years. Or if you rapidly induce funds in 2026, it has an effect on 2031. But that is built into these models that there's always $2 million sort of set aside to be able to do this outside of the last few years. On that note, our settlements and distribution schedule runs through 2039. So we are still receiving distributions in the portal until 2039. So regardless of direction, that money still is coming in through 2039. That's just something to have in mind as you discuss funding strategies across years.
Assuming that doesn't change and someone doesn't decide, just kidding, we want to pay the rest of our settlement out earlier.
So a couple questions, yeah, and I didn't see anything in the minutes about it. No, it was gone last month, obviously. Do any of the funding strategies and the anticipated revenues that we're seeing here include any of the remnant settlements that we received notification of in March?
I don't believe so. The ones that we just received notification of, they haven't provided a distribution schedule yet. It was just the initial, we all need to sign on and say we're going to be part of this redirection of funding. And so that's the other thing to keep in mind is as additional folks settle out, these numbers will all change again anyway.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know, the email I got from our county attorney, I think his back of the napkin math was probably wrong as to, because I don't think Teller County's going to get $600,000 out of that settlement, but anyway, it's a rather large settlement with 6 remnant, but it is outside of the AG's, and I think there needs to be a discussion among, you know, the members of this council and their guiding boards as to whether to direct those funds into this council or whether they don't. Obviously, that's another individual decision of them because it's outside the AG funds. But I think that's probably everybody's intention. That certainly would probably be ours and Teller. But that, you know, that has to happen once we see what actually is there.
So typically that's what we've seen. There has been 2 other settlements that settled outside of this statewide or nationwide MOU. McKissick was one, and I can't remember, maybe it was Endo was the other. And they directed funds directly to the municipality instead of going through Brown Greer, which is the National Opioid Database. What we've seen previously is that if you all have already elected to redirect your funds to the regional share, those all came directly to El Paso County. So instead of going Brown Greer to El Paso County, they came directly from the settlers to El Paso County. They're not reported the same in the COAC database, but they're all still subject to the MOU and the approved uses in Exhibit E. And so I think it's probably a year ago that I brought a spreadsheet to you and talked a little bit about how the numbers in our statewide database will never match my spreadsheet exactly because of that reason. We have some direct settlements that I have to track separately that aren't tracked at the state, but still have to be spent in the same manner. So I wish they'd just put it in that state database so it all matched, but so I would anticipate that that would probably be the same process for these funds, is that if you've already redirected and annually, every municipality has the option to change that redirection and say, no, we'd like to spend it ourselves and not direct it to the regional share. But if you're already directing to the regional share, then those should come directly to the regional share as well, just not through the administrator. But I mean, that's a good point. At any
Yeah,
point, these
so the
can all,
short answer is no, it's not in here, right?
it is not in here.
Yeah, so, and then from there, it's probably just a matter that there's probably some remnant dollars that collectively would be helpful to this board if we're all on the same page about it, but we just want to make sure it just doesn't slide into somebody's revenue bucket, just because it's outside of the AG settlement, just so we can make sure we're doing the work that we all want to do.
I think also, I mean, I'm really grateful for this. I think it's important for us to see like what it would look like in these scenarios so that we can plan, but also in addition to potential revenue changing, the reality is we could make a decision to say, hey, we're going to go with the front loaded spending model. And 3 years from now, different people could be on this council and say, we don't want to do that anymore, right? We're not binding anybody. But I would still rather, even if I was coming on this council 3 or 4 years from now, know what the plan is. Even if I decide to break the plan, just still know that there was, what the thought process is we're going into it. And I also think it's important that even if we say, hey, we all agree, we kind of want to work towards this model now, that we remain flexible for new opportunities that come up. But I think what will be valuable to that is if we get some amazing new program or center or something that comes in and they, really want a large chunk of money, but it's something that our community really needs, or, a new thing that we feel like, hey, we haven't been able to do this before. What we want to do is it's going to take a huge chunk out. We can look at these numbers again and go, we can do that. Just know this is what it's going to do to what our future is. And I think that will be helpful in just planning and thinking through what it is. But from my part, I wouldn't want to see us like, this is the only thing it is. Just, and we don't want to deviate because this is what we're deciding. I think it's just helpful for making those good choices if they come along the way. And maybe those don't come, but I think it's always a good idea. We never really know what's going to pop up in the world and what new things that might come our way that we really want to jump on board.
Just one more comment if I could. I mean, and I don't know that anybody's got a crystal ball, but I don't know if Paso County Public Health or Teller County Public Health, just through, the briefings that you've been getting from CDPHE and from the nation in general. I know obviously the medical community has stepped up with greater awareness about prescribing opioids to people with the desire, obviously, of not getting people unintentionally hooked on opioids, but there's this world around it of synthetic and illegal. But Michelle, or what are you guys hearing in regards to what the future of the opioid epidemic looks like? Are we or we're in the battle and nobody knows, or is there anything that people are talking about on your level that that might guide us towards, what, we need to get after it versus we're going to need to prepare for a long slog?
I think it's probably a combination of all that. There is a lot more awareness among the medical community, required trainings for medical providers, all the way from MDs down to the non-physician providers like nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, also including our dental providers, our dentists, because they do prescribe opioids as well. So more awareness around that, working with primary care providers. There's more awareness among surgeons, and probably Dr. Bronsky can probably speak to some of this as well. Possibly, I don't want to pass the dollar, but there is more awareness with surgeons, particularly prescribing opioids post-surgery, and then providing that Narcan training to the families and the patients that are having surgery as well, because those folks are also at increased risk for the issues with taking opioids, even if it's just simply as that. We are doing more community awareness, with our ambulance districts. For instance, Saturday, we held a senior expo and health fair, and Tiny and one of his guys was there. And they were providing Narcan training to folks coming in. So a lot of our senior citizens were coming into those and talking about how they were having surgery. And, he said, hey, if your surgeon hasn't talked to you about this, this is really important. So for us in Teller, we're trying to get more community education out there, just in the instance of just not everyday use, but use for people who may be at risk, not necessarily those that have substance use disorders or those that could be on that, kind of on that borderline of risks. So that's where we're kind of at. It's hard to know to predict the future.
So we're not looking for a decision or a vote, but just interested if you guys have maybe any sort of direction of one way or another that you're leaning towards so that we can help you all when it comes time to bring applications and things towards you, like, hey, you all were interested in the consistent spending model. That's what this might look like. You would, in theory, have $5 million to allocate. And we have $8 million in applications. Obviously, always council's decision to fund less or more. But just to be able to provide that information, if there's one way or another that you all would like more information on, or that you're kind of leaning towards to help us help you.
Has there ever been a time, I've only been on this council for a couple of years, has there ever been a time where towards the end of the grant cycle or whatever, we're like, oh man, we're getting low on money, to where we want to do an extended spending model to increase that? Or is that never really a thing?
So it hasn't happened yet that we haven't had enough funding available either in our bank account or the cost center to pull down. But that is because the majority of these settlements are front loaded. So we are seeing a vast influx of revenue these first couple of years, which we will not be seeing start in the next couple of years.
So then
it drops off.
I mean, my mapping then in my common sense brain would say the extended spending model would be beneficial in that scenario. Also gives us the longest period of time to have access to the money. Whereas the front loaded spending model, actually the consistent middle one ends in 2039. This gives us till 2041, obviously, because we're extending out the money a longer period of time. So just an initial thought.
Well, and to add to that, we didn't run out of money, but our buckets did.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we had to shift buckets.
I remember that, yeah.
So we had to move from bucket to bucket. So to your point,
Yeah.
with that extended, we can still do that again, because if the grants or requests aren't coming in to fill the buckets, we just move bucket money around. We can still do that to, if something comes in that we want and we're not seeing, it was, I think, youth bucket
Yes.
was really, really full, and we
Mhm.
borrowed from youth to your point. I mean, I agree, the extended works, especially if the buckets, we can move buckets around and
Yeah.
fund different things. We fill the buckets how we fill them, but we have been moving bucket money around and still getting the things done that we needed to.
Yeah, I would certainly say the extended model is the more conservative model. It still projects an average of around $5 million a year in discretionary spending, but does provide a little bit longer longevity, and then also leaves a little bit more money sitting in the bank account available for the next big thing, or an opportunity that might present itself in 1 year where you might say, we'd like to spend 10 million this year because this fantastic thing has come up. It does provide more flexibility and is the more conservative approach.
And then there's that still 2 million.
Yeah, the rapid response
And-
funding.
Yeah, is still available, which is a lot.
Yeah, because that 2 million kind of covers the difference between the 7.7
And
all the way down to the 4.7-ish. So, yeah, okay.
I think we're also at a place where we're looking at KPIs and outcomes and those kind of things. And we've got some experience, and we're gonna see some outcomes, and we're gonna see like what's performing and not. And so it's probably time to kind of like ratchet down and say, hey, we're just gonna be more restrictive here. And because of two things: one, we may need this longer, but two, we may have a really cool big thing that comes down the pike. And it'd be great to be ready for that. I think if we just like try to open up the gates and try to push out as much money as we can, I think we're a little bit under that model, but and so I think shifting to, I would go to the extended one, just be more fiscally conservative. Push more on, let's really pay attention to outcomes. And then let's hope for a good, big thing that we can get behind.
Okay, it's some, yeah.
I don't know if we need a motion on that, but pretty much most of the comments have been to go to an extended, spending model, and I would agree with that. I feel like, there's a few of us that have been on the board, since its inception. And I think the one thing that's, been a kind of a burr under my saddle is that we other than establishing some buckets and some numbers around some buckets, which we then promptly moved around, we've never really had spending rails, where, I mean, at any point, if somebody came by and really got the passions of this board going, we could have spent even more than what we did. But, establishing at least some rails on it, I think is positive. And I think, just starting out with that, extended spending model, as Councilmember Lineweber said, to establish those KPIs, figure out, how we're doing, and then go from there. And then there may be additional monies coming in that, that could always be adjusted. But do we need a motion on that, Kenny?
I don't know that you necessarily do,
Just
because
direct it.
it sounds like staff would actually return with the specific KPIs. And I think at that point, motion may be appropriate, just so staff doesn't go too far without formal direction.
Well, I guess the thing is if anyone in the room isn't thinking about the extended version, you need to speak up now.
Yeah.
This would be the time.
So that gives staff the direction, so they don't have to recreate redo work. So, I mean, I support the extended myself, but if there's somebody who doesn't, we should probably know now.
I'm just gonna say that I do support the extended version since we're, I think it's a great idea and I think all the comments have been really good. So, I think now's exactly well said, now's the time to slow down. We've pushed out a lot initially, but now's the time to slow down and start evaluating those programs against themselves and really thinking, and are we funding a lot of programs that are similar? And if there's one that's outperforming others and we don't think that both of those are necessary, it's an opportunity for us to really look into that and then also still remain flexible for what things might come. And I think what's great about this is, we're slowing down, but if in 2 years we go, hey, there's actually a little over what that looks like that we want to continually do for the next few years, then we can readjust what that modeling looks like. But it gives us an opportunity to really do that evaluation of that work that we've, I think, all been really desiring to do. So.
Okay, yeah, so we'll take council direction and use that to kind of incorporate into financial statements and additional modeling that we'll provide you guys at the same time you're reviewing applications in our new twice-a-year process. You'll get your stack of applications along with, this is the dollar amount that is what's in the extended modeling forecast. So this is, what you want to look at spending, but of course, full transparency, you guys will always know every penny that's in the bank account, everything that's available, and always have the option to spend less or more than what the guardrails say. It provides us the direction to give you all the information.
Sounds good. Great. Okay, let's move on to our final topic, which is the final direction on the strategic plan.
Yes, so last meeting, you all did a fantastic job doing a lot of work, digging through, I think it was like my 50 slideshow, and providing some direction and some clarification and some changes. And so I took all of the direction that you all provided and developed a draft strategic plan that is somewhat show ready. And so what I'm hoping to do here is to just go through kind of the key elements of this draft plan. It's the same plan I sent you all a couple of weeks ago and again last week, and then I have a printed copy for you all. We just kind of want to confirm what we have in here, revise anything that you all maybe looked at over the last couple of weeks or happen to see today that you'd like a change, and then identify if there's any gaps, anything that you all thought about since last meeting that are like, oh, that wasn't addressed in there, I'd like to see it. That way I can get final direction, go back, make whatever tweaks are necessary, and we can actually adopt this plan at the May meeting. Okay, so our strategic pillars and goals start on page 7. We settled on preventing and reducing substance misuse, expanding access to treatment and intervention, increasing recovery supports, and then increasing system coordination and data collection. And so just want to clarify that these are the right priorities for the next 3 to 5 years of this council, as we discussed last week, and see if there's anything missing or misaligned that you all have considered or thought about since we last met. Anyone want to go back to thumbs up, thumbs down?
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Just move
I'll
through
take
it.
silence as you really like my
That's
pretty
right.
pillars.
There's no objection, so your pillars are
All right.
moving on.
Just the gray and the blue are kind of close.
They are kind of close, but I mean, to be fair, these were the colors that we spent a lot of time with on Initium. And I just put,
Those pillars.
yeah, I mean, they really loved this purple, and so
Those colors were very important.
they were, I got the like actual codes to make sure I do it right, so. Pages 8 through 11 are where we go through the outcomes and targets for each of the goals, looking at those 5-year targets and funding levers. We talked quite a bit about these last meeting. We changed a couple of the KPIs and kind of refined some of those. Again, these are our 5-year targets that are in here. Putting this data subgroup together of staff and will really help us to define these. And so what I don't want you guys to think is, well, we decided we wanted to try to reduce ER visits for substance misuse by 12%. If we get 2 or 3 years in and we see this is not the right target or this is not the right measure, we can certainly come back and amend this plan or provide something different. I think these are overarching goals that the council wanted to see. They wanted to see, increase in youth participation and reduction in waiting time to get in to see a physician or treatment. And so that data group will really work to define how we collect and measure this data and bring it back to this group. And if at any point we find there's something that's not being collected well or isn't the right target, it's something we would bring back to this council to ask for your guidance in amending how you would like to track it. So I don't know if anyone, I know we spent a lot of time on these KPIs at the last meeting, but I don't know if anyone had any additional thoughts or recommendations for changes.
Well, the targets can change, and I do agree with you. That will be important with that data group, but the funding levers will be very informative when we're vetting these grants. And so that'll be like the true north. So I like having the funding levers called out in probably everything we're doing when we're going through them so that we know that we're hitting 2 out of 3, 5 out of 3. What does that look like scoring? Yeah.
Our funding strategy, pages 13 and 14. We talked a lot about standardized grantee reporting and consistent council report review. There hadn't really been a good process established previously for providing information back to you all from the grantees to see how their programs were working and what sort of metrics that they were moving. And so this establishes our priority investment areas as well as establishes how we collect that data and bring it back to the council for review. And so we talked a little bit or quite a bit last meeting about establishing kind of those priority investments like prevention, treatment access, recovery supports, and then the system coordination and data and what that could look like as far as data infrastructure, all of those different investment areas that might fall into the strategy of this council. And so I don't know if anyone had anything they wanted to see different, if there's anything missing. I hopefully captured. I think I did. I rewatched the meeting several times and it's really terrible to listen to yourself talk for 3 hours. So
Tell me about it.
You get used to it if you do it alone.
It's a little cringy.
No, I just want to say, I think this is great work. and appreciate, all the work that the entire council put in on it. And I really like it. And I think it's gonna be helpful for people that are looking to get grants, because they're actually gonna be able to see, hey, this is what it is, and this is what they're looking for in regards to funding. So, and it gives us, allows us to remain more focused. I think it allows those who are applying to understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely provides a lot more clarity for everyone, including our community partners who are looking to support the work of this council. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say great job to you and your staff, because we wouldn't have made it through last time without you and without you being very organized. And this is easy to read, easy to follow through. And I love that we can make changes as the data comes in and we get more information and we see results. But this is really due to you and your staff's work. So great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd also like to point out, we spent 2 years trying to get to this,
Mhm,
and we've gotten there in 90 days
mhm.
under this new format. And so again, kudos to you and just the entire El Paso County team for, for getting us here. I think we're all concerned, geez, we're starting over. Here we go again. But you guys are doing great work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for trusting El Paso County.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Well, if no one has anything that they've seen that they
Yes.
want to provide different direction with?
Well, actually, I was just gonna suggest perhaps that we post this draft online and allow the public to comment on the strategic plan, and so with the intent that we can look to adopt at our next meeting. Would that be appropriate?
Get the attorney, but
I don't,
Anything that we would do from a strategic plan standpoint, county-wise and all that, we would, we could publish it for comment and then take that comment into consideration, when we go to adopt. But it sounds like the plan was to look at adopting at our next meeting. Is that right?
yes, that was the plan, was to adopt it at our May meeting. Our May meeting is pretty full with reviewing all of our applicants. But we could post it for comment. I could synthesize all of those comments and send them out ahead of time, if that's what the council would like. And then hopefully we could either adopt as is, or if there's something you all really feel like the public has provided comment, you want to include it, we could include it on the fly and adopt it with those amendments or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just curious, do you want it posted with like a special, like asking people to email that, or like, I guess it all depends. I'm just trying to understand what the process is. So like, are we posting it up there and soliciting in like a survey type format? Or are you just thinking kind of like what we do when we have our first and second ordinance reading is it goes out, it's clear that it's happening on the agenda and there's time for public comment, whether via email or, coming into the meeting. Okay, yeah. I'm fine with that. I think that's fine.
Yeah, it just from a standpoint of transparency, but that way also, our partners in the space also, they've heard the discussions that have gone on, but it gives them a better way perhaps for them to formalize any comments that they may have on it, and be able to get those to the council.
yeah, I can put a deadline on there as well, so that everybody does get them an ample amount of time before, or so that we can adopt it at our next meeting, because we want to be able to draw those dollars down, and we can't until this is done. Or we're hoping to draw those dollars down once we prove to the state we've done it. So we need to move, just keeping that in mind too, that we can't draw the 13, million that we want to be able to have this plan to show them, so we can draw those down. So just put a deadline on it, so it's enough time to get to the council, so everybody can look at it. If there's a theme, that's something we can take into consideration to get through our next meeting, so we can start drawing the dollars down and spending them.
Yes, and reviewing,
Because we are in May,
applications.
which is 5, the 5th month. I'm starting to already count down the year. Like, we're almost halfway through the year. Can you believe it? And we just need to get money out the door. So, I think that gives everybody a timeline of when to get it in, if that's fair too.
Can you just, whoever wants to do it, briefly walk us through, like, okay, we're gonna adopt this, but walk us through, I know we're doing the 2 cycles, but like kind of what that time frame looks like between now and when we actually start reviewing those.
Reviewing applications.
Yeah.
So we'll be reviewing applications in May, at the May meeting. It's the backlog of applications that we've had since the last time that you all have reviewed any of those. And so I'm working through all of those right now, putting together summary sheets, kind of giving it a cursory review against what you all have decided are your strategic priorities. That way I can give you guys good summaries of these applications fit under the strategic priority, so that that review can go a little bit quicker and we're not sitting through long presentations from every potential applicant. And you guys have that information kind of synthesized ahead of time. And so the hope is to get through all of those applications at the May meeting that we currently have in queue, and make decisions on them that day. That way we can give some final direction and clarity to our community partners.
And we would be evaluating those against this at that time?
Against kind of
Okay,
the new framework that we've put together.
okay, so
Yes.
we are, based on final direction, assuming pretty close to adoption on this.
Yes.
Well, even though that's the May meeting, we're just thinking about the time, there's not a lot of time in between
There's
there.
not.
So we'll kind of presumptively utilize this in our next meeting for evaluation and be looking through the lens of that new extended funding model guardrail of funding beginning next month.
Yes.
And like we've asked of the facilitator, i.e. the county, Amanda, she's going to pre-qualify those to this.
Okay.
And
perfect.
so
That's
not
interesting.
to waste, right, everybody's time if something just does, I mean, yeah, she's still gonna bring it.
Yes,
But
everyone will have access.
Everybody
to
will
all
have
of
access
them.
to all of them, but she's gonna pre-qual, just for a matter, we all agreed to,
Yeah.
don't remember what meeting. So she's gonna do that upfront work too, as well, to help us get through that too.
Absolutely.
Where are we with the website now that you're bringing up?
Nick, do you want to give an update on the website?
Sure. We're really waiting on council's direction as far as the strategic plan to kind of revamp that, right? We have to solidify the strategic plan prior to putting out new content that doesn't mirror match ultimately what you want from the council. But seeing as we're pretty close to finalizing this, I think that there could be some updates. I don't think that vice chair's idea is we can certainly use that, get public comment, put that out there. And then once we formalize and adopt the strategic plan, I think the website revamp can go pretty smoothly.
Yeah, so currently the application is the old application that Initium had developed because we didn't have final approval on this new application and time to put it together. So that old application is currently open through May 8th so that we can kind of collect those last couple of applicants that might be putting in, since we won't have another application until this fall. And so it'll close on May 8th. We'll add those to the ones that I've already been reviewing, get that review done real quickly, get it out to you all. That way you have all the information for our May meeting.
Any questions on that? So how many do you think?
13,
We have 13.
between 12 and 13.
So between now and May 8th, we'll probably get a few more. I mean, I can imagine. And now that it's live. And then, so yeah, we should be able to power through those and get them out the door.
So May will for sure be a little bit longer of our meeting, a little bit more intense, but I hope to have a lot of the pre-work done to you for you guys and have it out to you ahead of time so that you can really come in here with a good idea of the programs that you're interested in looking at. But again, you guys will receive every applicant, even if I review the application and I say this does not even qualify according to Exhibit E, we couldn't fund it if we wanted to. You guys will get that application with my summary sheet saying that it does not qualify per the MOU. But for transparency purposes, and since you are the decision-making body, you'll have access to everything I receive.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So that's it with the strategic plan, unless there's any other, we're all good with that. You guys are so rowdy today. I wish.
Jake, nothing? Not one typo?
Nothing?
Nothing.
Yell outs? This is just so calm compared to yesterday. I don't even know how to act.
Kenny could cause a ruckus if we need.
Somebody cause a ruckus.
I can sing you a song.
Oh my gosh, no, please. I've already heard the song.
So I can grab you.
Yes, the list, yes. Gosh. Crazy amazing. Those days are over now.
You're doing great.
I mean, they're over after their vacations go.
Yeah, and we need to enjoy this while we have it.
That's what I just
It's
said.
about to come to us.
Okay, I try.
Great job.
I guess she said, okay, so. Okay, so we have 4 people signed up for public comment, and we will start with Tyler Lohman. And there isn't a mic, so feel free to move closer if you want to.
It's okay, I'm loud.
Okay, that sounds great too.
The pretend mic, yeah.
Taking notes here. Or not, I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm Tyler Lohman. Hello, everybody. I'd like to start by just saying, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and, for the opportunity to present at the next meeting. I just had a PowerPoint, but, it was today, so I'll present it at the next meeting and I'm looking forward to that. But I just wanted to get up here and just kind of give like a brief little intro to like what I'm trying to do and why I'm at this meeting. So again, I'm Tyler Lohman. I'm a Colorado Springs native. I was born here, raised here for most of my life. I went to Rampart High School, graduated '09. I'm also the founder of Ampersand Productions Limited. It's my company that I'm trying to get up and running. And I'm also in recovery. The opioid fentanyl crisis has affected me and my family, my parents back there, personally and intensely. But I'm in recovery and I'm here today because I am proposing I'm proposing a potential solution for the rising amount of fatal opioid overdoses in El Paso and Teller counties. Like a year and a half ago, I had an idea for a product, which I am involved with elite product design based out of Boulder, Colorado, in developing this product. And then I already submitted a grant application. You might see it there's under the Ampersand Productions Limited is like the name of the application company, I guess. And it's Project or A&D Automated Narcan Dispenser. So I'm working on a device that is well, it's an automated Narcan dispenser. It's a discrete wearable device that hangs on your nose gently, and it monitors your vitals, your heart rate, your blood oxygen saturation, and your body heat. And the opioid user would put it on. Ideally, they would put it on before using any opioids, and they only have to wear it for about 5 to 10 minutes for their when they're using their opioids. And in case of overdose, and it's kind of an automated solution for the like the buddy system principle of Narcan administration, where to get Narcan, you need someone else there to Narcan you. This kind of solves that problem where if you're using alone, which in my history and everything, and the people I knew and everything on the streets, that was more often than not, that was the case. People were using alone. This device this device will fill in the gap of the buddy being there. It's a device where you don't have a friend with you. So you wear it when you're using alone. And if you overdose, it automatically administers Narcan to you. So it'll prevent fatal overdose when there's no one else there to administer Narcan. I don't want to give too much away because I'm going to do a presentation at the next meeting. But I'm speaking today, just trying to bring awareness to this project and just to let you know that I'm out here. I'm trying to do everything I can to fight this fentanyl crisis and to reduce the amount of fatal overdoses because I'm, for one, I'm so tired of losing loved ones and friends to overdose. And so I'll just kind of wrap it up. I already submitted a grant application. You'll probably see it there. And in the presentation next month, I'll go more in depth to the project, to the product. I have visuals of it. Where I am with the lead product design. I've already invested a good amount of my own money into it. Brief technicals of the device, my business strategy. The biggest part is I'm trying to get it distributed, like bulk amounts of it distributed freely at the needle exchange, at anywhere that has medically assisted treatments, Suboxone clinics, methadone clinics, hospitals, jails, CJC, prison to people who are on drug charges getting released. Giving it to them as kind of just like if you do go out and relapse, just use this as a protection. That's very much what my mind is with like getting people to wear it is, giving it distributed freely so it's readily available. So if they, have
few of them laying around, they'll wear it, and even if it saves just one life, the statistical value of a life, according to the US Department of Health, is around 13.4 million, I want to say. And I'm only asking for around $200,000, and this, so if it saves one life, that's, you know, preventing the cost of 13.4 million is a really good return on that. It's saving one life. But yeah, I just wanted to put a name to the face and to the company and let you guys know that I'm out here trying to do everything I can to help fight this awful epidemic. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next meeting. That's all.
Thank you, Taylor. Next up, we have Allison Dodge with One Chance to Grow Up, and we all have a handout and a clippy.
Student council. Wow, amazing. We go from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, the upstream prevention of the spectrum. One Chance to Grow Up. We are in the throes of our public awareness campaign, and we feel and we're excited. It's going really well. We had 3.6 million impressions via our video display and our Meta digital social media outreach. And we have had 25,000 hits to our highriskthc.org website. And I hope you've all had a chance to check that out. It's packed with information, and we hope and we feel sure that parents are taking note. But 25,000 hits to that website is amazing, and the average time on site is over 2 minutes. So I think that's evidently really good in the public health space. So we are excited about that. Our billboards, kind of the overarching entire campaign would be a 43 million impressions with those. And they are about 9 to 10 weeks into our 12-week cycle. So the billboards and the digital media campaign will be coming to a close. But we still have a lot of earned media that we would like to do. We left 2 QR codes to some earned media that has happened since we gave our March 31st first quarter report. One was the dangers of high potency cannabis, and that was our Dr. Libby Stout, our scientific expert that we utilized. And that was on CPR, Colorado Public Radio, on April 20th, 420. It seemed appropriate. It was a 27-minute interview, and it was very insightful. And then Whitney Yeager, our community liaison here in Colorado Springs, had an article in the Gazette on April 6th, which was also a very powerful article. So with that, if you have any questions about data and numbers, I might be able to answer them. If not, I can get back to you. Or I will turn it over to Whitney, and she will tell you about the in-person and live events that she's been hosting.
So just to remind you, I'm the education and outreach coordinator at One Chance, and I live in Monument, and I'm working very specifically in El Paso and Teller counties. The packet that I put before you with the magnet clip is a giveaway that we gave to participants and visitors at the Colorado PTA convention a few weeks ago. We were an exhibitor and provided parents and teachers with those handouts that you see, plus many more educational posters, and I was a presenter. So we really had a great event in that particular day. And I was supposed to speak tomorrow at professional development in Teller County in Cripple Creek, but it was canceled due to weather, but we're rescheduling it. And let's see, what else we already spoke to Rotary on Friday and had a great response and an invitation to join Rotary. We created new partnerships with Scouting America at Rotary, as well as YMCA. So we're looking at attending their fall 5K runs in, let's see, September or October, November, December. And lots more schedules. So there's a lot going on, and we're amplifying the QR codes that you have with my column as well as Dr. Stout's. Just a lot of email and Zoom calls and there's a lot of activity. So it's all very good.
Any questions? Any more information you can deliver?
Nope, you must be doing something right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the updates. We appreciate it. And then we have Beth Rolstad.
Hi, Beth Rolstad, Homeward Pikes Peak. I wanted to ask a clarifying question about the application process this year. The May 8th application is primarily for holdover applications from the previous year. Only because I have a concern if that's the.
It is not.
It's open for any statement of work.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's great, because we've been a grateful recipient for 2 years in a row, and our contract would end in August, and the new funding cycle wouldn't start to receive new applications till October, which would create a funding gap for programs that are working and are effective. So, okay, I just wanted to check. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. That is it for public comment. If there's any committee meeting updates or comments, nothing. All right, well, then I guess we are adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
But I might take these 2 hours back in May, so.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? Find somewhere we need them and get the work done when we don't.
Right, great. And then do you have time to